is going on, guys? My name is Aaron, and this is the Game Day Hour. Welcome to episode 30, and we are at week 6 of our Fantasy Hour and Game Day picks for the NFL season. So last week was an interesting and a fun week of NFL action and even college football action, but we're only talking about NFL, of course. So we're going to be looking over week 6, my fantasy lineup, and we're going to be looking at all the games from Sunday and Monday. But we're going to be switching it up a little bit. See, I used to do it from the earliest game to the last game on Monday, but I'm actually going to be doing this ranked by how interested I am in the matchup and how good I think the matchup is going to be. So the ranking is kind of just up to me, but it mostly is about good teams in which I think are going to be competitive matchups and some interesting moments for some matchups. There's 13, so I'm going to take it from the worst game to the best game. But before we get to that, let's jump into the fantasy history, so what happened last week, and the fantasy lineup going into the next game. But yep, this is Fantasy Hour and Game Day picks for week 6. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. Going into Monday, I was down 49 to 132 with 4 players left, that being Shaheed, Kareem Hunt, who I put in the starting lineup because Jonathan Taylor was out, Harrison Butker, and the Chiefs defense. I ended up winning 144 to 132. Shaheed got 27, Kareem Hunt had 26, Butker had 14, and the Chiefs defense had 28. It is one of the best comebacks I've ever had. The last time I had a comeback this big, I was playing in the championship game back in 2020, in which I was down 28 to 75. I ended up winning 109 to 85 and securing my first time getting that trophy back there. But this is probably the better comeback because, man, I had to have gotten super lucky. The only touchdown the Saints had was the Shaheed touchdown. Other than that, Kansas City dominated, and I ended up winning, moving up to the 3rd spot in a 10-player league, and I'm 3-2. So I got lucky, but I don't know how lucky I'm going to continue getting. I need players to get back from injury. So this is the lineup that I'm going to be going with for week 6, and I have a great chance of winning because my opponent's lineup is also dealing with some injury, significantly worse. So here we go. The lineup I have been going into this week is CJ Stroud is going to be my starting quarterback. Last week he put up 42 while Jordan Love put up 28 or 29. So Stroud is going to be probably having the better matchup. They're playing the Patriots, so that's why I'm going with Stroud. And then take a look at this. I am most likely running with an all-5 wide receiver lineup if Jonathan Taylor and Nick Chubb aren't ready to go. And even if Nick Chubb was playing, I probably wouldn't start him, but Jonathan Taylor wouldn't be missing too much and he'd be back in starting action immediately. But instead, I'm going with a 5 wide receiver lineup because every single one of our skilled players can be flexed, so we can run with a 5 wide receiver or 4 running back, 1 wide receiver. For this week, because of injuries, I'm going with 5 wideouts. So AJ Brown, Rashid Shaheed, Mike Evans, Deebo Samuel, and Deontay Johnson will make up my skilled position. Evan McPherson is going to be starting because Harrison Butker is on bye. And even though it says the Baltimore Ravens, remember, I'm recording on a Tuesday, I'll probably have a different defense by then because I don't trust the Ravens anymore, and they're playing Washington, which is just a recipe for disaster. So I'm going to be running with this lineup with the defense being in question mark. So that's what we have so far. As of right now, if my opponent wanted to gauge the best possible lineup, their lineup would be Jalen Hurts, Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, T. Higgins, DeAndre Swift, George Kittle, or Devin Singletary, whichever they choose, Young Ho Koo, and the Cleveland Browns defense. Either the Browns defense or the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. It's going to be really hard to gauge because both are not expected to do well unless they go into free agency. But yeah, they've been suffering a lot of injuries, so it's going to be no question why this is the lineup they're going to have to go with. And I wish them good luck, but I do not have a lot of hope for that lineup. So yeah, that's just the matchup. I'm projected to win 108 to 80. So I have a 78% chance of winning. But yeah, that is the fantasy matchup. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully I get a better defense than the Ravens. I'm keeping the Chiefs. The Chiefs are really consistent. So I'm going to stick with them. Now it's time to get into the matchups throughout the week. We're only dealing with 13 games total. And again, the way we're doing this is I am going to be doing it from the worst game of the week to the best game of the week. It's not about prime time. It's what I think the matchup and what the best matchup I think is going to be, the one that you guys should watch. So once we get towards the end of this, those are the games you most likely want to pay attention to. Looking back to last week, it was probably my worst week of picking. I went 6-8, which brings my record to an overall 45-33. So I have to do better. That was a poor week, but we can bring it back. There's not a lot of big games this week, as far as I can see, but there are some pretty significant ones that I do want you to pay attention to. But for now, let's get into the rankings of these games and seeing who I think is going to be winning. So the worst game, in my opinion, is going to be played between the 2-3 Indianapolis Colts and the 1-3 Tennessee Titans. Now, the reason why I consider this the worst game is because there's going to be no Jonathan Taylor. There's going to be probably no Anthony Richardson. It's probably still going to be Joe Flacco. So you're going to be seeing a Colts offense that isn't fully ready to go, even though they had a pretty good game, despite the fact that they lost. And on the opposite side, you have a Tennessee Titans team that is underachieving. They have not been pretty good on offense. So they had a win against Miami before the bye, but they're still 1-3 and at the bottom of the NFC South. So this is just two very disappointing teams. I have the Colts winning 24-17. I mean, without Jonathan Taylor and even without Anthony Richardson, I think Joe Flacco is going to do pretty good offensively. And the Titans, I don't think have any answer. I think that their best player so far has been Tony Pollard, because anybody else has not played very, very well. So I'll go with the Colts in a mid-scoring close game, but still, it's not a fun matchup, and I'll probably not watch it. The 12th ranked matchup, aka the second worst, is going to be between the 4-1 Houston Texans and the 1-4 New England Patriots. It's obvious, it's just very lopsided. New England has no offensive presence whatsoever, I guess, if that's what the word you want to use, while Houston has all of it. So this is super lopsided. These are two polar opposite teams, and I don't think the Patriots defense is as good as it used to be, and I think Houston is just going to blow them out. I have the Texans winning 34-9. I don't even think New England's going to get into double digits. They're just not looking very good ever since that Cincinnati Bengals game, in which they only scored 16 points, but they had a better defensive presence. So since then, they have not been great, and Houston had only one bad loss to Minnesota. Other than that, they've played pretty well. Close matchups, but still pretty well. So we're going to go with the Texans in this one. The 11th ranked game is going to be played across the pond, and it's going to be between the Jaguars at 1-4 and the Chicago Bears at 3-2. So the Jaguars finally get their first win, even though it was a high-scoring close game. I still think the Jaguars have a lot of things going wrong, and they need to get better and better. As for Chicago, I mean, they looked good, I guess. Offensively, their presence hasn't been that impressive, I guess. I don't really like how Caleb Williams has started off the year. I think he can do a lot better, and he has so many weapons around him. He had a really good game against Carolina, which is understandable, but it is the Panthers. I expected the Panthers to win, but they didn't, and they got blown out. So you had that. And Chicago, on the other hand, I mean, they looked good on all angles. That was probably their best game throughout the year. But outside of Houston and I guess Indianapolis, who have they really played? You have a win against the Titans, you have a win against the Panthers, you have a win against the Rams, who are underachieving right now and they're very injured. So this is, again, another 1-4 team. I do have the Bears winning 31-28 and going to 4-2, but once the big competition comes in, and we're talking especially in their own division with the Lions, with the Packers, and with the Vikings, of course, once you get to those matchups, and I think like Washington is down the line eventually, so I don't know how you're going to fare in those games. It should be a lot better, but I have no idea. Right now, the Bears look good because of their early schedule, but I feel like the woes are on their way soon. But they're going to win this game, 31-28. The 10th ranked game is between the 3-2 Pittsburgh Steelers and the 2-3 Las Vegas Raiders. These two teams had poor weeks. The Steelers lost in the last few seconds against the Dallas Cowboys, and the Raiders got blown out by Denver. My thing about this matchup is when I see Pittsburgh and Las Vegas go at it, it's generally close, but really low scoring, often favoring Pittsburgh. And the reason why Pittsburgh should win this game, and I have them winning 23-19, is not because I think their offense is good. Their defense is still really, really talented. It's just the Raiders. What do they have? What do they have? They don't have a great quarterback. Devontae Adams wants a trade. It just doesn't seem like they're going to have any offensive presence against a very dominant Pittsburgh Steelers defense. I do think it's still going to be really close, and they'll get some scoring. I have Pittsburgh winning 23-19, but it's hard to pick the Raiders right now. They don't look great, and the reason why this is a low-ranking matchup is because both teams are kind of walking into this week a little devastated after their previous matchups. So I have Pittsburgh getting back on track, and the Raiders falling a little bit more. The ninth best game is between the 1-4 Cleveland Browns and the 2-2 Philadelphia Eagles. But this is a closer matchup than I was expecting, because right now, a lot of people are questioning Nick Sirianni and all that's going on with Philadelphia, but there's a lot of good hope going into this game if you're an Eagles fan, because you're getting A.J. Brown back. You're probably going to get Devontae Smith back to pair with Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. And so that offense should start clicking, but I do think it's going to be a little slow rolling against a pretty good Cleveland Browns defense, which has often been held back because of their offensive woes. And it's going to continue. I think that the Eagles are going to win 21-13. I just can't pick the Browns right now with Deshaun Watson. He has not played good at all, and he's just been very frustrating to watch. And so no hope with the Browns. I do think it'll be a little close because the Eagles have woes of their own, but they'll come out of this one victorious. The eighth matchup is between the 3-2 Atlanta Falcons and the 1-4 Carolina Panthers. Now, Carolina just had a bad offensive game. I think they're going to get back on track, but they're playing against a really tough Atlanta Falcons team, which just got done putting up 36 in a win in overtime against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So right now they have a grip on the NFC South, and I think it's going to continue because despite the Panthers' offense getting better, their defense is still a question mark, and I have the Falcons winning this one 38-24. I just think that Kirk Cousins has found a rhythm and a stride, and Drake London has came alive. Man, this guy has looked so much better in this offense. Give him a good quarterback, and he was going to prosper. The Drake London, he's getting a lot better week in and week out, and this offensive juggernaut that Atlanta has right now is going to be the reason why they have a comfortable win 38-24 over Carolina. The seventh ranked matchup is Sunday Night Football between the Cincinnati Bengals at 1-4 and the 2-3 New York Giants. The Bengals just lost a crushing defeat to Baltimore, and now at 1-4 they look really, really bad. But they are playing against a 2-3 Giants team, which had a very impressive win against Seattle, but still, there's a lot of problems with New York, and they're going to have to fix a lot of things. The Bengals are 1-4. Their record is very, very dishonest because they're still a good team. I believe it. I just think that their defense has kind of let them down because offensively, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, they had a really good game. It's just unfortunate. I still have the Bengals winning because the Giants, I mean, I don't know how you beat Seattle. That was, in my opinion, that was kind of a fluke, and your defense looked good then. But the Bengals offense, I think, is significantly better in some ways. So I'm going to take Cincinnati 31-26. I do think that New York has to be looking for a lot of answers, especially to establish the run game, because I don't trust Devin Singletary. So outside of Malik Neighbors, I still do not trust the Giants fully. But their defense does look good. However, it's not going to look great against Cincinnati. So give me the Bengals. The sixth ranked matchup is between the 2-3 Arizona Cardinals and the 3-2 Green Bay Packers. Both are coming off wins, but Arizona's was way more impressive. It was a comeback victory against the 49ers, who they have not had success with for some time now. And when I take a look at this matchup, it's a lot closer than it looks because despite Arizona still having some things they need to work out, their offense has looked really good this year outside of just one game. As for the Packers, I mean, you're going to get Jordan Love for a third game in a row, and I think he's going to look a lot better. I have the Packers winning in a close one, 30-24. I just think that when you take a look at Green Bay's offense, it's going to be so much better under Jordan Love. I mean, he still had a pretty good game on fantasy when he played the Rams. And the Cardinals are a step up, of course. Arizona is going to have to be dealing with a tough Green Bay defense. So I'm going to choose the Packers to win this one. Now we're looking at top 5 matchups, and number 5 is the Los Angeles Chargers at 2-2 versus the Denver Broncos at 3-2. Broncos just came off one of their best games of the year. Bo Nix went off, and they did very, very well against Las Vegas. The Chargers, on the other hand, have dropped their last two, and they had a bye week. So right now, Denver has a lot more momentum going into this game. It's going to be very close because the Chargers defense is really good, but the Broncos defense has started to look a lot better, and their offense is finally starting to get there. I am going to take the Broncos to win 27-20. I just think that Bo Nix right now is on a hot streak, winning 3 straight games in a row, and now Denver, despite Kansas City being undefeated, they're starting to make some noise and try to, impose themselves for playoff presence. Bo Nix is probably going to get better throughout the weeks. So I'm going to take the Broncos in this one. I just think that the Chargers, you drop your last 2 and you're walking into a situation where Denver has won 3 in a row. So they're going in opposite directions. Give me the Broncos. The number 4 matchup is between the 3-2 Buffalo Bills and the 2-3 New York Jets. Robert Saleh is out. The Jets just fired him today, so there's going to be a new presence coaching for the Jets, and these last 2 games they have looked awful. Saleh has not been the best coach. I mean, defensively he had New York there, but their offense never got going, and even with Aaron Rodgers, it's still a work in progress. As for the Bills, they've dropped 2 in a row, first to Baltimore, then to Houston, so those were 2 matchups that were really good. But the Jets dropped to Denver, and even though I just got done praising Denver, still they should have won that game. They had the better momentum going into that game. This is probably going to be closer because of the new coaching, but I still do have it as a double-digit win for the Buffalo Bills, winning 27-16. I just think that the Jets need to figure something out soon, and with a new coach, there's going to be a lot of questions to be answered for the Jets, and a lot to be desired. So I'm going to take Buffalo in this one. The third best matchup is between the 3-2 Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the 2-3 New Orleans Saints. Any single time these 2 teams meet in New Orleans, it is going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be a very tense game, and you're going to see a low-scoring affair where the defensive effort is going to be very good. The Saints just got done losing to Kansas City, and they had almost no control outside of 1 good touchdown to Shaheed. And the Buccaneers came off of just a heartbreaking loss to Atlanta in overtime. So both teams are coming in with losses in the previous week. It's going to be really, really hard to gauge this matchup because it can go either way. When it's in New Orleans, it's really hard to tell where I want to lean. I'm going to go with the Saints because of the home field advantage and the fact that Tampa Bay has struggled in New Orleans. And that's like the one place they struggle in the most. So I'm going to have the Saints winning 23-17. I think that some of their offensive woes are not going to be fixed, but Shaheed is consistent. They should continue to work with him. Alvin Kamara, of course, you got to work with him. And then you need to get Chris Olave because Olave's kind of just fallen behind, in my opinion. I think he needs to do a lot better. Shaheed's really the best receiver on that team right now. And then Tampa, of course, you're walking in New Orleans. You haven't had much success there. So I'm going to go with the Saints in this one. The second best matchup is between the 3-1 Detroit Lions and the 3-2 Dallas Cowboys. Now, a lot of storylines going into this game. First of all, if you remember last year's matchup, it was a very close, low-scoring affair. The Cowboys won, but controversially because of the illegal man downfield penalty for the Lions on their 2-point conversion, which ultimately hurt them, and they still tried to go for 2 on the next 2 plays because they got bailed out by a penalty and then did not convert. So in my opinion, the Lions, they got screwed, but then they screwed themselves over at the end. So the Cowboys ended up winning and getting the 2nd seed, which didn't matter because we lost to Green Bay, while Detroit would march on to the NFC Championship, in which they blew another lead to the San Francisco 49ers. And again, coaching woes just hurt them against San Francisco. Going into this matchup, it's going to be a lot closer. The Cowboys just got done defeating the Steelers in terrible conditions on Sunday night, which was a big win, probably their best win throughout the year. But they still have a lot to be desired on offense. Obviously, players started stepping up, which is a good sign for Dallas. But Detroit, outside of their 1 loss to Tampa Bay, they have looked great all year long. So it's going to be really hard for me to view this matchup going the same way for Dallas, even though it could. I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions to win 23-21. I just think that this time around, Dallas has lost a lot of talent since the last time they played, and Detroit, they just look great. Picking the Lions, even though I really, really hope I get this one wrong, because if Dallas wins, we keep up with Washington, who is starting to scurry away. Dallas needs this game a lot, especially with how tough their competition is about to get. But I think it's going to roll in Detroit's favor. So give me the Lions. And then the best matchup of week 6, and you know it by the thumbnail, is the 4-1 Washington Commanders versus the 3-2 Baltimore Ravens. Both are coming off great wins. This is the student versus the master. Jaden Daniels versus Lamar Jackson. And Jaden Daniels, to me, is the MVP. Right now, as we speak, if the season were to end today, I'd give it to Jaden Daniels. He's looked amazing. I know he's a rookie. He should win Rookie of the Year, but not MVP. But I think that he should be in the conversation to win MVP. The offense is just so much different than what it was last year, and the defense has stepped up. As for Baltimore, Derrick Henry is a game changer. I know he wasn't that effective despite having one of the best runs to end the game against the Bengals. It was a comeback victory and a high-scoring affair. And when I look at this matchup, Jaden Daniels and Lamar Jackson are practically the same kind of quarterback. They're great dual threats. Obviously, Lamar Jackson is the better dual threat quarterback. Jaden Daniels still needs to get better throughout the weeks. But when I take a look at this matchup, this is probably going to be my upset indicator. I am going with the Commanders to win 45-35. I just think that when you take a look at this matchup, Washington has turned everything around. And while Baltimore is on a 3-game winning streak and their offense has just looked amazing, I think that as both teams collide, Washington is just slightly better. They're 4-1, and Washington really needs a game like this because Philadelphia is probably going to go to 3-2 if they beat Cleveland. I have Dallas losing, which means they would be 3-3. And so if Washington wins, they jump to 5-1. They'll have a pretty good cushion lead because their only competition is Philly and Dallas. And Dallas has a tough schedule. Philadelphia needs to get some things going. So Washington's in the best position to win the NFC East. And if they can get by Baltimore, I think they can get by almost everyone. So give me the Commanders to win this game. And that'll do it for episode 30. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. And if you do, please leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe, and go follow me on all my social medias. I'm so glad that I'm 3-2 in fantasy, and I have a very good likelihood of moving up to 4-2, but I'm going to need some help with teams losing above, which is really hard right now because they got some good teams. As for the matchups, I just hope to turn it around and have a better record going into this week, and I'm really going to watch that Washington-Baltimore game. I think it's going to be one of the best games throughout the week and potentially the game of the year so far going into this season. So I hope you guys are ready for that. Anyways, that'll do it for me. I hope you guys have a great day. Take care, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.